Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of UHS Presents. I am here as always with my co-host, Lori Foster. Hello, Lori.
Hey guys.
How's it going today, Lori?
It's going.
I hate those people who say, oh, I got a case of the Mondays. That's such a ew thing to say. But I mean, like for me today, I think it might be true because it went from being like 65, 70 beautiful degrees to being 90 today with no warning. It's not even Memorial Day, so that shouldn't even happen, but whatever. Anyway.
Well, if it helps you, it snowed here yesterday. So
oh, awesome.
I don't know what's going on.
That doesn't make me feel better. I guess I don't want that here either, but also I could do without 90 freaking degrees. That's ridiculous. Anyway, what do we have quickly? What's the status update on the Surgeon Kickstarter now that that's all wrapped up?
We are about halfway done the book, getting it done. Omar's pumping out pages, and we should hopefully have it completely done and printed in the next month or two.
Sweet. And I know that there's been a little bit of a delay on the elsewhere too, right? We have a little delay on the books, but we're getting there.
Yeah, everything's completely ready, and I have everything except the books, and the book printer is in Canada. They've had multiple delays because of COVID, haven't we all, right? But we should be getting them soon, I hope.
Yeah, I just thought I'd pop that in there because that is a thing, and we don't want anybody to think that we've forgotten about you with your elsewhere stuff. You're getting it. It's coming. We promise. So today we are talking about Black heroes and how important everything is. Already we got Paul in the comments saying to show us the guns, girl. Oh, hey, Paul. So anyway, we have 3 creators on today, and they are our good, Lori's good friends. I'll be honest, I just met them all today. But I know of their work, so let's get to it. Our first guest is the writer for the Operative Network, who wrote Project Wildfire. He's won the 2012 Top Cow Talent Hunt, a 2019 Trailblazer Award from the City of LA Department of Cultural Affairs. He is the head comics reviewer at Bleeding Cool and a veteran review columnist at Comic Book Resources, who was a professional karaoke DJ for 5 years. It's Hannibal Tabu. Hello.
Hello.
Is that an extremely healthy drink you're drinking there?
It's vodka.
So very healthy, very healthy. All right. Next up, we've got the CEO and creator of Wingless Comics, writer of the ongoing series Justice and the indie crossover Nightfall, who won the Best Surprise New Read of 2020 by Comics Attack. It's Brian Lambert. Hello, Brian.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Brian.
Do you have an extremely healthy drink as well?
I mean, I want to say mine is vodka now, but it literally is just water. Like,
aww.
But I'm saying old school. Yeah, vodka too.
Good enough. Close enough, I guess. So anyway, last but not least, the head of development for Wingless Comics, the writer of the novel Her and its upcoming sequel, Her, Gods and Monsters, who is utterly fascinated by ASMR, but not mukbang because that's nasty, Malachi Bailey.
Thanks for having me.
I actually did not have to look up what mukbang was. I knew. And I was like, oh, he's right. It is gross. Yeah. I mean, some people like it, whatever. So already we got Paul in the comments saying hello. We got Heather saying, well, she just put an emoji of a muscle arm. And Legend Storm TV on YouTube saying that they got their rewards from Justice 2's Kickstarter already. So cool. All right. So yes, let's jump right on in. Hannibal, what you got up there? What you got? You know, you might be the first person who actually did that. I'm not even sure. Maybe it'd be top 5, definitely. First 5, for sure. So what do you got in the pipes right now? What are you cooking up?
Well, I'm still doing press from the release of MPLS Sound, which was a graphic novel I co-wrote with Joe Illich for Humanoids Publishing. That's getting a lot of great reviews and a lot of attention and lots of good things happening around that. I just got the entire proof copy for a new miniseries I'm doing, a supernatural Western called War Medicine. That's going to be coming out later this year from Wonderman Comics. Also, Time Core number 16 from Wonderman Comics just hit all of the online sellers like Comixology and Amazon and all that. And I'm warming up for both the Kickstarter release and of Project Wildfire, The Learning Curve, which I'll be supporting my creative partner Quinn McGowan with in July now. I think I'm allowed to say that. And then Project Wildfire will be in comic book stores this November from Second Sight Publishing. They're going to be distributing our work, and we're very, very excited about all that.
Sweet.
So you've been busy. Like
I haven't slept since 1979. That's true.
Me either. I wasn't born then. I'm excited about like you was I was like anything supernatural I'm down with. So I'm excited to hear more about that later. We have some of your art here. So let me show up this one here that you sent us and tell us quick about what's going on there.
That was some of the announcement art that we put out for our deal with Second Sight Publishing. A lot of indie comics come out. We're already 9 issues deep. We've written, drawn, and colored 9 issues already. So we don't have to any worries about being late. We're on a bi-monthly schedule. So you're going to be getting Project Wildfire books in stores for a long time. Awesome.
And this is another one that we've actually, I think we might have gotten this one from one of our elsewheres that you put a piece in for.
Yes, ma'am. That's one of the shirt designs that we have on operative.net. So people can go and get that on a t-shirt, if memory serves, at operative.net in the store.
Yeah, awesome. This is a little piece that we cut out of the Elsewhere. Was that 1 or 2? I don't remember.
Elsewhere 1.
I'm just really tired today, so you guys are gonna have to forgive me. I'll be more flubbery than usual. That's just a clip to show, some of that spectacular colors in that art there. That's some great art.
And this is from what's called Project Wildfire Street Justice. And we'll have an updated version of this with new lettering from Zen. He works for Aspen and for lots of companies like that. We'll be redoing the lettering on all of these pages.
Oh, sweet.
Awesome.
That's cool. So let's see. Next, I have Brian's pieces up. So let's talk about some stuff. Actually, here, let's do this one first. So you want to tell us what's going on here? What's up?
Yeah, that's the main cover for Justice number 2, which is actually live right now on Kickstarter. We have 24 days left on the campaign. So we just started last week. We already hit goal. We are marching towards our first stretch goal at 5K and going pretty strong with that one.
You're having a little bit of audio glitchy stuff happening there, but I think I caught most of it. I'm going to put your...
Let's get his Kickstarter link in the comments.
Yeah, let me get your Kickstarter link up here.
And you guys just got Project We Love, right?
Yes.
Yes, we did. We just got Project We Love.
There we go.
That's awesome. Anyone in the comments?
Up out here.
There we go.
Yeah, you're a little laggy and glitchy. It might be catching up now, though.
Yeah, I hope it's not our internet.
It's not. I may need to log off her.
If my internet craps out, then everybody's screwed. So because I'm the one hosting. Oh, that would be terrible. Let's see here. I got this piece.
It's probably me. I'm gonna blame it on California.
Oh, you cleared up there for a second. Okay.
So tell us about this character.
Maybe. Oh no.
So this is from our Willis new series that will be debuting with Justice number 2 called Saber Initiative, and this is our title hero, Emmeline Sara. She's a detective in a futuristic city, and all of her events of her chasing down a serial killer, they spiral out of crossover Nightfall with Constant Hustle Comics, and it's really have another female protagonist really driving home what the stories are trying to tell here on Women's Comics. That's from JL, the creator and author is JL Johnson of In Need, The Rule of Nine. Really great guy, really deep in lore, and it's a really overall great writer.
Okay. Yeah, you're still a little bit glitchy there, but I think I caught enough of it. I hope so. I hope everybody caught enough. And we have another piece of art here too. Is this also from Justice?
Yes, that's the ultimate cover for Justice #2. Thiago Silva produced this one for us. That's the cover that's going to come. Holofoil. It is a special edition cover. It'll be digitally signed. It comes with the book. It's got all the bells and whistles on that tier. Again, for Justice #2 that's live on Kickstarter right now. And Thiago just did a killer job bringing Justice to life here.
Okay. Did we catch all that, Lori? Did you catch everything?
It's a little glitchy on my end. I don't know, Malachi, if you're functional and you can talk about Justice a little bit, that would be cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
that's.
Can you guys hear me clear?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. So the first image that showed Justice for Justice #2, that's currently going on in our Kickstarter. We launched it last Tuesday on the 18th. We're doing well. Of course, we want to do better. So if people want to, just send their paycheck to us directly, don't worry about rent this month. We'll pay you on the back end. Savings account, just direct it to us directly. But seriously, we're doing well. We're still getting the word out there. So I'm posting on my page. I'm posting on, our Wingless page. I'm in DMs. I'm just being really proactive with it, I would say. So that's for Justice #2. The picture of the woman with the luscious hair and the cool bomber jacket.
Yes, this one?
Yes, that's Emmeline Sauer. She is a detective but she's in Clinton City. So she is dealing with a serial killer who has a familiar calling card. And this is actually going to be the fallout of our ongoing storyline or crossover called Nightfall. So her issue #0 will be in Justice #2 as a backup story.
Okay.
And then for the third image that showed Justice on the headstone, Thiago Silva, he did this alternate piece for us. This one is actually titled Night, whereas the first image was called Day. I thought it was pretty cool. But this is a pretty cool piece. I think to me personally, it kind of reminds me of the animated TV shows from the 90s. So, remember how Batman used to come on and we would all get spazzed out and happy because it was great artwork by Bruce Timm. That's the feeling that I'm getting from this one, but that's me personally.
I, as an artist who would love to be a lot better than I actually am, I love the lighting on this. I'm looking at particular bits of it. The lighting is awesome. It looks so good.
And also with this piece, we're actually offering a hollow cover. It kind of reminds me of if you guys remember back in the 90s when they always had that the hollow foil on the covers. And I think the Death of Superman started the whole trend back in '92. And then I remember seeing it again for Uncanny X-Men #300. So it's kind of like a nostalgic piece that we're doing for this particular Kickstarter.
Sure. Well, that's awesome. That's fabulous. So, as a couple of white girls, we probably aren't the best people to be talking about Black heroes and why they're important and why they matter. We know, but we don't really know, right? So, I guess you guys just take it away. Why is this so important? Why for comics aren't going to end racism or anything like that, but like, why is this important to you guys? Like, what do you two think? Hopefully Brian will come back to and talk a little more if he can get his internet working.
We're putting them on the spot.
For me, I'm a dad, and I see lots of kids, a lot of kids. And one of the things that's very important for me is when I see a light go off in their eyes, like they really get an idea. I remember during the presidential campaign of Hillary Clinton, I literally saw like kids watching TV, little girls, and pointing at the screen saying, "I can do that." And I was like, "Yes, you can." So seeing a Black hero on the screen is a very similar way. That, you know, there was a tweet Leslie Jones, I think, put out after seeing Wonder Woman. She was like, "Oh my God, I feel like I could go out and lift a bus and take over the whole world. Is this what white men feel like all the time?" So having that kind of wind at your back in creating a myth, in creating an icon that you can see yourself in, and that you can find some sort of validation from, is both culturally relevant in terms of the improvement that it does for society, and also individually relevant for how people are going to be able to walk through this world.
Absolutely. And yeah, if people would listen to that, then you'd say, you know, like, we're all, you know, the differences aren't that big after all. Like, that's sitting here, when you said that, I'm sitting here going, yeah, for women, for us. Like, I definitely feel that. Like, all growing up in the 90s, it was mostly white guys. All your heroes, all the main characters were all white men. Yeah. So yeah, I hear that, not on the same, you know, not in the same way, but I definitely hear it. So how about you, Malachi? Yeah. What do you have to say about that?
I think representation is vital, you know, for us as a people. And when I say us as a people, I mean Black, white, and whatever. I know personally for me, growing up, I've always been a comic book fanatic. Like, you know, I could quote certain issues. I could tell you who my favorite X-Men are, Storm. And, you know, for me, it always gave me like a sense of, I guess, empowerment. So growing up, when I was much younger, you know, before I was even introduced to X-Men, it was Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, who are all great characters. Like, I still love them to death, you know, but for me, like, I couldn't see myself in it, you know, because I know it's surprising, but I don't have blue eyes and blonde hair, and I can't throw a shield, you know, I can't cling to walls, you know, like, you know, Peter Parker, and I can't, you know, fly and be, you know, lift, you know, trucks or whatever. But I do get my powers from the sun, so melanin infused and such. But anyway, for me, you know, when the tide, you know, started to change was when I saw that first X-Men episode in 1992. And I saw these cool characters, and they were talking about oppression, which was something that you never see in comic books. Well, you didn't see it back then, really. And I saw this beautiful, blue-eyed, white-haired Black woman with these amazing shoulder pads and these stiletto boots. And I'm like, who is she? And it was Storm. And I'm like, I'm in love. Like, I didn't know that people like that existed in comic books. And not only was she so badass, you know, she was, you know, a co-leader of the team. So on some level, that made me want to write about characters who were Black and who were powerful and who had great big hair and who could, don't even start, Brian, because I could just feel it. I can feel it.
How you doing? I just barely came back, man.
You know, I can't even look at you right now. But yes, so, representation, it's great to be at the next Malachi, the next Brian, who was currently in grade school, and now they have options. You know, you don't have to go with Spider-Man by default or Batman. No, you could select Justice. You could select her, Caliburn. You know, so it's about options. It's about representation, and I'm here for it. Yes.
Well, I know you missed a bunch of that, Brian, but we were just talking about representation and why it matters. So if you have any thoughts you want to chip in?
I'm gonna say whatever Hannibal said was right. Whatever Malachi said must be stopped. And no, I think that that's one of the I think that some of us are fortunate. I'm one of the maybe few that was fortunate that my imagination wasn't kind of bound by what I saw. And again, I have to give like real big props to my mom for that, because she always made sure like, nah, like you're just who you are, or you can just be whatever, no matter what the character was. But that takes a certain type of imagination, right? Like, because you know, monkey see, monkey do. That's what kids learn by emulating. So if they don't see whatever it is that they are, it takes another step, or it takes that reinforcement from somebody to tell them they can. And to parents' credit, in general, they obviously try, but sometimes they may not even know. You have a happy kid who's just having this imagination doing their thing, and then you never know until they're 20, 22, 23, where they're like, man, this is what I wish. There's a great store that just opened up during the COVID, era, if that's what we're calling it, in South Bay Pavilion, Black Star Collectibles. I was down there because Sebastian Jones was doing a signing for Stranger Comics there. My sister and my mother both happened to meet me because we haven't seen each other in a while, and so it was kind of middle ground. And I've been in this market for a minute. My sister's been in this market in another form of fashion for a minute. My mom had never seen that many black Funko Pops, that many black action figures, that many black comic books, that many. And again, she's my mother, right? So people just assume because our family or our friends know us and we're in this market that it's there. They had a whole section that was like all girl stuff, but not like only Barbies, right? And you don't see those sections in toy stores like that. So it's important not just for like black heroes. That's obviously what we're talking about here, and that's obviously important. But representation goes so much further than that, and it has historically been the case in America that black people as a group, right, will forge forward and open up these representation and these rights and all these things, all these other groups that end up getting represented. And that's important, not only for us to trailblaze in that fashion, but to trailblaze so that others can as well in their own, venue.
Definitely. I remember, like I was mentioning before, that I remember back in the 90s, and there just wasn't that many things for girls, and all the girls stuff was about babies and cooking. so it was, now I was like, there's part of me, not gonna lie, there's a part of me that really wishes that I was, a teenager now instead of back then, back in the late 90s. So it would have been a little bit easier probably for a weirdo like me.
Well, I was going to mention too, like, I feel like mentioning the babies and stuff, like, I feel like in terms of black representation, lacking in fantasy and sci-fi and just like a lot of different genres, like it's just not, we don't see enough of it. And I'm curious what you guys think of that. And
Tim Burton,
like what?
That's something that was I don't know, maybe, I don't want to say heartbreaking, but probably that's the best word. Right? Tim Burton was talking about his fantasy universes and all this. I remember Tim Burton is the guy who had a dude who had scissors for hands, literal like scissors for hands. You can imagine a guy has scissors for hands, but you say something like, "Oh, I just don't imagine black people in fantasy." Right? How does that even make sense? But that's the sentiment echoed by so many. You can see the memes that come out where people are like, "Oh, I go to anime to escape," and if you bring black people in, now it's like the real world, like as if we're some kind of anomaly, or or other. And I think that even going back to Tolkien with Eol, the dark elf, right, who ends up being the bad guy. He's got swords, he does all this stuff, and he's in there as a pivotal role. He's like the bad guy, and it's like the technically one black character, you could say. Like it again, it's detrimental to not only us, because then there are kids that can't see that they can do it, but then also reinforces these crazy and insane stereotypes. Black people don't like fantasy. Like, did you poll all of us? Did we vote on the weekend black people meeting? No one knows. Like, that's not a thing, right? But people continue to do that. See, we don't do that because black people don't go to it. No, you put out a bad black movie, or you put out a bad instance of this, so people didn't support it, as opposed to your top-notch, mega movie, mega products Black Panther is a mega product in itself, just by the property it is with Marvel. But then they put the money, they put the time, they put the care into it, and then it blew up. And you've seen that across, for obviously for Black people, but you've seen that also across multiple cultures. We actually give people the time, actually give them the money to make something that's at the level of what you consider to be a great movie in general, which mostly means it's going to be like a cishet white male in it. Then these movies blow up. These properties blow up. They do really well because people want to see them. And for Black people to be relegated to menace to society or got 12 Years a Slave, and those are the only two types of movies that we can do, or the two types of properties that we can develop, is insanity, considering how deep, how long, if you're talking about Africa, how deep, how long, how many cultures have mythologies and these deep and broad histories, and even in a limited time that Black people have been in America, the contributions, the cultural contributions that have been co-opted, it's insane to think that like Black people aren't ingrained in all of these things and wouldn't want to be.
I agree.
When I look at things like this, I remember a quote that I pulled from a rapper named Razzcat. It says, "The diameter of your knowledge is the circumference of your activity." That if you don't know it, you clearly can't interact with it in that regard. So given that the 2020 census, I was just pulling up an article about this, reports that even in urban centers, that the physical segregation of people of color from white people is still drastic. That, there's still probably, based on what I'm reading from the numbers, the grand majority of white people in this country who can go weeks at a time without ever interacting with a person of color. That changes your perspective of things. So if, as my good friend here said about, they look at fantasy and comics and whatnot as an escape, they're running from the realities that they're facing. Why? I'm not going to say that they have a perspective one way or another. I'm just saying that the stresses that are on them in their everyday life are pressing them in a way to identify people of color in a negative light. And that's, to a certain degree, marketing, to a certain degree, politics, to a certain degree, education, but absolutely a factor of interaction. That I remember, when I first interacted with Unlikely Hero Studios, for example, the entire table came out from behind to hug me over a review I'd written. I didn't know who the heck anybody was. I'm like, okay, these people are hugging me. This is odd. But I didn't take it as a negative thing. I just took it in as something that was happening. The more interaction that we have with people, the more understanding we can have for different things. And as Sarah noted, we can note how the things that bind us together, the things that are similar, are actually greater than the things that separate us.
Yeah. With like you, what was that quote that you just said? I think that's what Morgan here was talking about. Was that the circumference of your interaction? What was that? Say that again for me.
It's from a Razzcat song. The rapper's name is Razzcat, Raskas. I think So Nice remix. And I think he said, "The diameter of your knowledge is the circumference of your activity."
Yes. Yes, that's a good quote.
I'm just like basking in that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is such a good quote. It makes me think about my own upbringing, my own general daily life. Like, I don't have a lot of experience with people who don't look like me. Like I grew up on a farm in Wisconsin, so it was all white people, and we're all in their little village nearby was all white people, and I didn't even go to a really big city. I didn't go to like Madison it's big enough, I guess. But like, even then, my parents, we went to the shopping areas, and it's, what's the word? Like the malls and the quote unquote white parts of town and stuff, I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't get it when I was a kid. And that now that I get it, I'm like, why is that a thing? That shouldn't be a thing. And it's just like, the person that I am now is the person that I wish I could have been. I wish I could have started learning all this crap a lot sooner, because it's not crap. I just threw that word out there just like that. It's all very important information, but like, I wish I could have started learning it a hell of a lot sooner than I have. I just, I feel like I'm so far behind.
I've got most of my family lives in Milwaukee. So Milwaukee, as you know, is a supremely clustered area. The areas that you're talking about in Wisconsin, they have no idea what the heck you're talking about. They have never gone out there. They've never had any cause to go out there. And the interaction, it goes both ways. So if people can't interact, people can't learn. If people can't learn, they can't grow. They did a corporate study that talked about diverse workplaces have greater success because they have a difference of opinion, different ideas, different perspectives that can bring different things to the work. If everybody in the room looks alike, and if everybody in the room has basically the same upbringing, then everybody in the room is probably going to have the same ideas, the diameter of your knowledge, once again. And you have to branch out from that. You have to learn things. You have to research. You have to reach out for more people, or you may get stuck in some thought patterns that lead in possibly, if not bad ways, definitely ways that are not moving forward.
Definitely, yeah. I have to this day. I mean, I am not going to try to pretend that I don't have preset prejudices that I developed, as my upbringing and my current experiences today. I absolutely do, and every day I try to fight against them and work to overcome things. But the things that I have overcome, like I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I was such an asshole. I used to be such a jerk, and now, my hope is that in a couple, 10, 15, 20 more years that I can look back and say that I'm a much better person than I currently am right now. So it's, and yeah. Oh, you're really blowing Morgan's mind over here in the comments. I don't know if you saw this, but he's
I see that. Well, I got some equations to send you, Morgan. I'll DM you later. Yeah.
I think to your point, Sarah, that though, I think time has a lot to do with it though as well, right? Like I was born in '81, so you'd like the '80s, which were like, if looking back, like economically, kind of trashed the country in a lot of ways, economically. But as we were growing up as kids, I didn't know that everybody was poor. Like I knew that one kid had the He-Man figure, one kid had Skeletor, one kid had, you know what I mean? So we all had to get together. If you look back at the fashion, everybody says, "Oh, the '80s were such a crazy time. Everybody dressed crazy because we didn't have any money, right?" So you were wearing your older brother stuff with your stuff and your crinkle socks, like whatever. Just like everybody at that point, I feel like was making things work, and you get this. Well, what's inside of that is that we are continually learning now, and I think we're learning at a very rapid pace with certain things. So whereas in the '80s and the '90s, like you said, like the girl toys were look, Polly Pocket, Easy Bake Oven, you know what I mean? Like it was all pink and it was all about baking, and it was all about kids. But like 20 years later now, we don't have that only for girls, right? It's not just like, oh, those are the girl toys. So I think that some of those mentalities, I'm not saying that they're okay in the overall scheme. I think if you have an '80s mentality in 2021, you've got an issue. If your prejudices and your mentality has evolved from what it was at a time when things were, quote unquote, acceptable to where they are, and they're at these acceptable levels now, I think that that's all that you can ask of people. You're not Clint Eastwood out here like, well, when I was growing up, we could say what we want. Well, yeah, you're a cis white male, bro. Of course you can. Nobody can say anything. Now you got to change, right? You're saying that, hey, I grew up on a farm. I grew up with this type of life, right? These were the things I was told. And you go out in the world and you see that, like, oh, they might not be true. So then you act accordingly. The same could be said about, about urban, rural, whatever life you want to talk about. Like, okay, we grow up learning this and this and this, and those things have to change. And I think that reluctance to change is what creates a lot of the enmity that we have nowadays. But then also, again, when we're talking about representation, it makes it more of a thing that people grow up not even dealing with it, because at that point you're not dealing with it. It just becomes an intrinsic part of your life. You're seeing it, you're understanding it. So that representation, while it is 99.9% for whatever audience you're giving it to, even that 1% that's for the audience that's unaffected, is such a powerful percentage, because then, like, we grew up with heroes that Luke is white, Han is white, Indiana Jones is white, the dude who beat Jaws is white, everybody's white, right? And they're going to be heroic. And so then you have, the white savior syndrome or whatever, right? But if you grow up with heroes that are now diverse, it's not just the white savior. It's not just that trope. You have all of these things that have gone into it, and you've just grown up that way. So it's not. It becomes at some point or another a black hero. Just they're a hero and they're black. It's this character, and that's the nature of these people, just as well as the heroic nature of the white male that we've seen in cinema and in books for X amount of time. All of these different representative categories get that. It's going to take time, but that's what the representation part is about, to say that people are not slices. People are not these little vignettes. They're like they're people. They're entire beings, and those entire beings make up an entire culture. So it's not just the anomaly of that's one good black person there, and the rest of them are. No, that's not how it works, man. We as a people are a people, and we are a good people. And 1%, you can't judge, which has historically gone on in America. You can't judge black people by the 1% that do crime, and say that this is how all of them are, even though that's been the case in America. The paradigm is shifting to where, no, you've got to recognize that we do have writers, we do have artists, we have anime heads, we have creators, we have art, everything, and that's the importance of representation, of having this out there, of showing it.
Yeah, well said. Well said. That's I was like, I'm a little bit dumbfounded. I'm like, yes, all of this, yes. And
as somebody is good.
Yes, like I have no notes. You're perfect. It was perfect. You're all just like everything that you're saying. It's like, yes, I agree. And if I don't understand, I want to learn. As somebody who as a general rule, I really enjoy learning things, and I've always been a pretty open-minded person. So, when I'm confronted with new information, I don't immediately reject that information. I try to understand it. And so the resistance that you mentioned, the resistance to change and to accepting new information that comes to people, especially people in insular communities like the one that I grew up in, is a little bit baffling to me. Like, I don't get it. I don't get why when you're confronted with this new information, why do you immediately push so hard against it? And that's just me specifically. So I'll be honest, I've never tried to understand why. So
I was curious though, in that vein, trying to collect my thoughts. With like current Marvel and DC superheroes, like we're finally seeing some of them having black representation. So like Miles Morales. And there seems to be kind of a mixed feeling about that. Like some people are like, fuck yeah, this is awesome. Like we're getting representation in these really popular characters. And some people are like, well, this is cheap. Like you're just changing him. You're just changing this character. And I disagree with that, but I'm curious what you guys think. If you think it's good or you think it's bad, and it's better to just have indie characters and new characters, and Marvel and DC should be putting out brand new, or yeah.
So about that, DC deciding to make Superman black, it is cheap, in my opinion. They have a plethora of black superheroes to choose from. There is John Stewart, the Green Lantern, who's been a Green Lantern member since the early 70s. He needs to be in a movie. And when you find out that he was actually supposed to be in a Snyder cut of Justice League and he was removed, it just makes it infuriating. So you have that. There is Vixen. She's been around since 1980. She's pretty much the Storm of DC because she's from Africa. She's a supermodel. She can call upon any power of, well, not power, but, this skill sets of, animals, whatever. I mean, that is a gold mine of a character that you could use. And what was great about the character, she had a look that was always changing. So when we first saw her, she had like the quote unquote Bo Derek braids, which aren't really Bo Derek's braids because it's an African hairstyle. But okay. So then, she had the short hair, she had the pixie cut. Then she had, I think she might have had an afro at one point, but it's a character who is about change. Why? When we finally saw Vixen, they gave her long straight hair and she was super light skinned. It's like she was a dark skinned character, but they did the same shit with Storm. in the first 2 seasons of X-Men. They made her light skinned. If you go back to the John Byrne issues of Uncanny X-Men in the late 70s, it's a cover where the X-Men are fighting in the Hellfire Club. And Sebastian's, I'm sure, it's standing over Storm. She is dark skinned, but they always want to, lighten the skin of these Black characters. Yes, we have light skinned people in our community. I'm dating one, but we are dark skinned. There are dark skinned superheroes that need that representation. So for you to say, and I say you as in DC, for you to throw us this bone, here, we can give you a Black Superman. It's Superman in blackface. Here, just take it. No, we don't want it. We have Black Panther. No, we have indie characters who are actually, better than these characters that were created by these white men from 70 years ago. No, we're good. We don't want your handouts. You can keep Superman with his blackface. Okay, I'm done.
I just
no. It was good.
You had to get that out. I could tell.
Well, Morgan said I was scheming, so I was just percolating.
Yeah, as far as the Superman stuff goes, I am so fucking sick of any Superman. I am so sick of Superman in any way. Like I absolutely agree that it's lip service. They're just playing to you to get. They just want your money. They're not trying to genuinely represent anything. It's like stop reinventing the same people over and over again. Fucking, you have such a huge stable of characters. Just use some of them. God.
Yeah,
and that goes for Batman and Spider-Man too. I mean, I give Spider-Man a little more of a pass just because I like Marvel more than I like DC stuff. I'm more of a Marvel person.
It's better.
But like, I'm still tired of him.
Into the Spider-Verse is the best Spider-Man movie. It's so fucking good. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah,
like I love it.
I mean, I gotta say that the best memes produced were definitely the ones Tobey Maguire did, but that's also not fair because Tobey Maguire is a living cartoon.
But I wanted to really briefly touch on what you said about Storm. Actually, I have noticed that they have changed her skin color a dozen times, and I didn't know if it was like the colorist didn't know how to color Black people correctly, because there is a lot of that.
There's so much of that.
Where they just don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to color, or they lightened her intentionally. Like, there are some issues. I'm not sure of which version because there's 400 million, but there's some like panels where she could pass as white, and that's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Even in the recent book, The Marauders, the first issue they show her in, there's a panel where she looks like a white woman. And, people were upset about it. And I had a friend of mine who, he's a white guy in England. He buzzed me and he's like, I don't understand this backlash. I'm like, pump brakes. You don't understand because you're not a Black person and you don't understand about representation. We're upset because this colorist, he made her white. She is a Black woman from Harlem. Okay? Get it right. Continue, Lori.
Hannibal looked like he was antsy, so I'm going to pass it down.
Yes, I saw you with your finger up.
There's a couple stories that come to mind. First of all, Larry Hama is a legendary comics writer and editor, and he was working at DC Comics at one point. He's an Asian gentleman, and they had at this time colorists all in a bullpen in a part of the building. So he walked downstairs with a comic book that had an Asian character on it. And he told the story in a panel that I was moderating. And he says, hey guys, I've noticed that every time you have an Asian character in the books, you color them yellow. And they're like, yeah. And he was like, and then he pointed himself and said, could you freaking not? And they were like, oh, okay. And literally that day on, they stopped coloring them that way. I'm also reminded of the creators of Tyrock with the Legion of Superheroes. They were asked to include a Black character in the Legion, and they were upset about it. They did not like it, so they decided to make what they felt was the stupidest possible character that they could possibly do. They gave him these elfin shoes, this ridiculous outfit with like ropes across his chest or some weird disco stuff or whatever, and they gave him a power that they thought, because the Legion was in space so much, was stupid. It was sonic in nature, which it relies on atmospheres. And they were like, we hate this character. We're shoving him in. Even the name Tyrock, they derived from the concept of Tyrone, to be able to further marginalize this character. However, when I saw this character, I didn't know any of those things. I saw, wait a minute, there's a black guy in the future from an island of black people that doesn't experience racism and only intersects with our stupid reality once every 30 years. That's the best thing I've ever heard in my entire freaking life. and then there was a panel where like he was doing something and Superboy had to sit back. And this was old planet juggling Superboy. It was crazy. So I was like, okay, if this guy can stand with Superboy, then this is really a thing. The thing that they intended and the thing that I got out of it weren't the same thing. So to the point that's being made about Superman, if they tried to put Anthony Mackie in as Captain America Winter Soldier, we'd have a huge problem with it. But because they had a plan, because they were patient, they were like, okay, we go slip in all these black heroes on you, but we're gonna give you all these white folk up front, make all this money, and let y'all start trusting us. It's a DJ trick. You play the stuff that the crowd wants to hear, and then you start playing the whatever records you actually want to listen to. It's an old DJ trick. So the fact that they're putting like, all right, well, we're just gonna fire Henry Cavill and just throw in a blue man because they have no plan. There's no agenda. There's no master architect like Kevin Feige who can guide the entire franchise in a very concerted and considered way. With that said, this is a quote that I came from myself. I would rather be ignored than insulted. And with a lot of these books and a lot of these projects, there are a lot of people who will put up a black character on the page, but let me lift up the label. Oh, there's a white guy inside. Okay, let me just put that right there. And there, up until a few years ago, there had only been 22 black people who had ever written more than one issue for Marvel or DC in their entire history. Crazy. Before Roxane Gay, that was true. After Roxane Gay, I believe there's only one, or there might be two, but I think there's only one black writer on a monthly title at Marvel right now. Those numbers are slightly better at DC because Marie Javins is a little bit hipper than Akira Yoshida. I'm sorry, C.B. Cebulski, but still challenge. I'm never going to let that go. I'm never going to let that go. I'm not. So when you look at all these things, bringing it back to my own level, I look at the fact that I've been invited to probably by a factor of 3 to 1 panels to talk about my experience of being black in comics instead of being asked to talk about comics. I have a degree in creative writing from USC. I'm literally trained in this stuff to craft, break down a story, character, all that. But there's one topic that I get a lot more invitations for panels for, and then that's very different than a lot of the experience I see from some of my white colleagues who may have less education, may have less experience, may have a lot of things, but I don't begrudge them their success.
Well said.
So I'll say this about heroes, right? I think that if Superman fatigue itself wasn't a thing, this would be a slightly different conversation. DC, although I love DC, not necessarily their books, but their cinematic universe. Look, anytime you turn a cinematic universe over Jeff Johns, I feel like you've done the wrong thing. Jeff Johns is a Silver Age fanboy. And while I like the beginning of his Batman Superman run, the way it ends is stupid. Like the Batman Superman composite robot is dumb, bro. Somebody should have told him that, and because we wouldn't even have it, we wouldn't be there. But when you have that, right, okay, no one says it's pandering when Coca-Cola makes vanilla Coke for the vanilla lovers, right? Like that's not pandering. That's good marketing. When it's done the way it is now, for saying, okay, so the press release wasn't we're making a new Superman movie. The press release was we're making black Superman, guys. Like, love us. That's where the problem is, right? Like, we're not nuance is lost in some of those characters. People say things about Miles Morales, but Miles Morales is a character based on nuance. Not only is he black, but he's biracial. His father, if we're just going off of Into the Spider-Verse, right? Like his father is a policeman, and his uncle is not Stalker. Jesus.
Prowler.
Thank you. He's got a bunch of nuance that goes into his character. He's a character that sees Peter Parker die as Spider-Man. So now he feels this, he feels that. You know what I mean? That's what makes the character whole, nuance. That was one of the things that for me was missing with with Sam in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He was dealing with some of these issues, but he didn't have nuance. It felt like a lot of times, like another character had to tell him how to react as a black man. Like, what? Are you not mad? You're black and this is happening. And it's like, but he's black and it's happening. He should already be mad. So while I don't hate it, there are pieces of the nuance that were missing. And they gave up nuance in favor of just showing you, like, this sucks. Black people get hassled by police. It doesn't matter if they're famous or not. As opposed, again, to going to the nuance of it. And that is a betrayal of your audience in certain ways. Now, that doesn't matter if it's in the press, if it's in the story, if it's in whatever else you do. If you don't trust your audience, that's been your comic audience, that's shown it's your comic audience for X amount of time to understand and to know and to like it, then it is trash. You're also going to have that other backlash of people who are used to being 99.9% of the characters, and so they hate it. How dare they have somebody else look a little bit different? Wait a minute, we don't have a woman headline a movie? Nobody likes women. And then Wonder Woman does amazing numbers. Like, it's the most ridiculous shit in the world. People still want, like, I love Roger Moore's James Bond, but people still want, like, Roger Moore James Bond where the pretty girl is, oh, James, thank you for saving me. And he says something witty, and it's like, nah, that doesn't really make sense in this day and age. So when you're painting fake characters with black faces, whether you're doing it altruistically or you're doing it for a money grab, again, when you're missing the nuance of it, black people talk about in juxtaposition of Black Superman, people talk about Black Marvel. Now, everybody's not going to agree with me, and that's completely fine. But the first incarnation of Black Marvel, written by the creator before he goes into the Ultimates, I hate that Captain Marvel. I mean, not Captain Blue Marvel. I keep saying Captain
Blue
Marvel. I mean Blue Marvel. Blue Marvel. I hate that incarnation. The reason I do is it doesn't make sense that you have the most powerful person up to that point that has ever existed, and the president is like, yo, bro, could you go away because the civil rights movement, which affects you as a black man, is getting too powerful. So we can't have them have like a black superhero too. Like, that's literally, well, not literally, right? That's the basics of what the president asks him in comic universe. Hey, black people are getting too strong. We can't have them have a strong black heroic leader. So I need you to go underground. I'm gonna give you the Medal of Freedom for it too. Okay, boss, let me go underground for you. Like, that to me is more insulting than a Val-Zod. It's more insulting than a Black Clark. It's more, you have, because there are layers to that kind of racism and oppression, honestly, because that's what it is. You not only have your comic book character stepping and fetching, literally stepping and fetching, right? You as a black writer are also doing that and telling other people, like, yo, sometimes you just gotta step and fetch to make it okay. That is horrible, and that's something that's come out of Marvel. You know what I mean? And that's now, while they're making great strides now in terms of diversity for everyone, that's a black mark that I'm not gonna forget. That's trash. And when people, oh, we got Blue Marvel, no, we don't. I mean, we got the Ultimates Blue Marvel, which is honestly up a little bit, but no, if you want to give me a black man movie that you're just strung out on, give me an Isaiah Bradley movie. Give me a Black Lightning movie, like a legit, like hard-boiled movie. You can give me Bloodwind, and I know that's Martian Manhunter as another black person, but you know what I mean? Like, if you want to give me Black Superman, give me Bloodwind. I switched locations, but I wish I could hold up my Milestone relaunch 0 issues that I have right now. They look gorgeous. I'm so happy, and I bought 1 copy to read, 1 copy to put away. I'm even at this point in life, because I know how it would be directed in Hollywood, I wouldn't want to see an Icon movie. Reason being, you got to see him go through slavery. And that's another little issue for me, where you have Icon, a hero that's the caliber of Superman, go through slavery and free everybody. That's something that's never really been reconciled. I know they gave reasons for it, but like, those are kind of nonsensical reasons, in my opinion. Like, if you have the power of Superman, all the people that you look like are tortured for hundreds of years, and you're watching it happen, and you're like, well, I'm gonna just go be a lawyer and I'll be quiet, and I'm gonna relive my life every couple of years so nobody knows it's me. That's trash. Don't call him a black hero at that point. And I get, again, that there are reasons, and not everybody's gonna agree with me on that. But I think that's very it's in the time it was written originally, again in the 90s, it made sense because there were certain things and certain ways you had to maneuver in and out. Post 90s in the 2021 world, 4-year-old Brian is not going for that. Like, I don't go for the okie doke in terms of like, oh yeah, you can have a black hero, and yeah, he was probably the most powerful person there, and he would have been around before Superman, but he wouldn't have done anything to stop this situation. So sucks to be you guys. Now it's the 90s. Love him. Like, I can't.
I will not love him. No, I won't.
I can't.
I don't know if you noticed the comments, but you're kind of killing Morgan over here. He said, Brian J. Lambert, sir, give me your camera and mic right now. Did you just dance a jig on us? That's it. Suspended. See, I would have got put in Facebook jail. Morgan's also very. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying, Morgan. I tell the truth, you get put in jail. I feel like that's the history of America again, though. Like, I feel like this America in a 2-act play.
Oh God.
Here's the thing. Because I mean, don't get me wrong. And it's funny because I have a lot of what could be considered inside information, given my proximity to certain people. A number of compromises were made. I'm just going to put it that way. To get a number of things into the hands that they got into, a number of compromises were made. Because when you go through a big 2 situation, challenges will happen. If you want something unadulterated, if you want something 1,000% for sure that's true to an experience that you don't believe is going to have any filtering, you're going to look for Is None of the Were Spider, you're going to look for Willpower, you're going to look for Project Wildfire, you're going to look for Justice, you're going to look for a book that comes from a different way, but you're going to have to look hard for them.
Yeah.
The reason why things are different for the big 2 is because when they, between them, share about 80% of the market, 80% of the comic books that are sold are their books, which literally are mostly Wolverine and Batman. When that happens, it's a little difficult for publishers to break through the noise. As independents, we've all experienced this. Everybody here has seen the challenge of getting the attention of a Bleeding Cool, even when I worked there. Getting the attention of a Comic Book Resources, even when I worked there. Getting, to breaking through that noise of, oh no, I'm sorry, I can't run the story about your really interesting story element happening in this thing because I have 6 Batman stories that I have to put up that I know are going to get a lot more clicks and are going to get a lot more ad revenue and are going to do a lot better financially for the site. Sorry. That's the way the business actually works. So Christopher Priest, the first Black writer in comics, was very clear in saying there's art for the sake of art and there's art for the sake of commerce. Art for the sake of art, you can do whatever the heck you want. You can be Dave Sim. You can create something that's very specific to your vision. You can be Eric Larson, showing boobs and punching all you want in Savage Dragon, if that's your thing. But if you intend to sell, especially sell at the level that makes people able to have jobs and buildings and eventually movies and whatnot, then you have to figure out a way to compromise. And especially in comics, as all of us have suffered, we know we don't sell to people. We sell to retailers. And those retailers are very much like the comic book guy on The Simpsons a lot of the time. Yeah. A lot of the time, they're like, I'm sorry, this is not exactly as it was in the 1974 issue created by Julius Schwartz. I will not be booking it at my store. Thank you today. Good day, sir. And when that happens, we're faced with a lot of realities that either A, we can keep trying to bang our head against, okay, I got to try to figure a way to get into these comic book stores that they're going to go for, which got you to Blue Marvel, who is now some years later significantly much more successful. Or you can figure out a way to market to somebody else. You can figure out a way to go into Kickstarter, go into independent Black bookstores to find the audience that you want that may not necessarily be the audience that comics currently has. And that's not just a Black thing. When I look at books like The Surgeon, which has a very specific approach to things that truthfully may not penetrate the Wolverine Batman hype. The audience that you're looking for may not be in comic book stores. They may be in book clubs. They may be, at women's shelters. They may be in a lot of places that are not traditionally considered comic book places. because we are not traditionally, everybody on this panel, considered comic book people. As such, perhaps alterations are required.
I'm kicking my ass every time here. Like I usually have responses for everybody.
Yeah,
but
I'm
you're
just like
going. No notes. I need to absorb it. So, whew. I think Quentin on Facebook has perhaps an issue with your Simpsons voice.
I'm sorry, sir. If you're unhappy with this, sir, you're welcome to shop across the mall at Collector's Universe. Good day, sir.
Katie on Facebook seems to. She said that the guy who runs the local comic book store up there in Scotland is exactly like the Simpsons guy. And he looked at me like I was an alien because a woman had walked into his store. I believe it. That woman thing I totally have experienced here. People, men here are so gross, and I hate to blanket statement that, but the men here can be so gross. It's like I don't even go to that store anymore.
It's true. Yeah.
Some more so than others.
I feel terrible. We got distracted with Brian's sound not working, and Malachi filled in for Brian, and then he never talked about her and his books.
And your art. Yes. I was thinking about that too, and I kept like, where's the opening that we could get there and punch that in?
I feel like this is a good segue because we're like, you need to support Black indie creators and what they're doing. If you want this kind of stuff, you need to support them. So
yes. Well, let's jump in and
can I actually talk about Malachi's art then? Because he took my piece and I just want to. Can I do that?
Yes, I mean.
Well, let me throw one of these pieces up here. We got this one here. Go for it.
That's gorgeous.
Malachi's actually gonna have to give me the artist again, but this was, and I will tell you guys a little bit of background. This was a really important piece to Malachi because, as we said, we're talking about representation, and this represents the sum total of Malachi's comic upbringing and the heroic women. Now, obviously, there are more characters, right? But he told you earlier in the stream how important of a character Vixen was. Her being a fashion model, her being from Africa, her being powerful, and that's what this piece is all about. And Storm, again, being from Harlem, being African princess, having the dark skin, controlling the elements, and her standing in the front is something of one. It's an homage, of course, but the other part of it is saying that this legacy that we've seen and these legacy characters that we've been involved with, kind of passing the torch to indie characters. Obviously, her is front and center, but it speaks to more than just what he's doing, and it calls him as a lightning rod, as it were, for this type of representation and for what he plans to do in the future with this representation and for children, girls, men who didn't get to see this and didn't get to indulge in this growing up.
Got another piece of her too, so that I quite like here. This one.
Yes. So this is the seminal piece done by Fabio. This was actually the original piece of art, the original character drawing. When I knocked on Malachi's door, virtually as it were, I DM'd him, "Hey man, I'm in this. I just started this company. I just got Wingless Comics Incorporated and blah blah blah. Don't know the whole thing. We've had a couple conversations online. I've read your novel. It's an amazing novel. Hey, is there any chance that you want to do a comic book?" And Malachi was like, "Well, let me think about it. I'm a very high-powered author, and people love what I do, so I have to see if I can schedule you in." And I was like, "Well, okay, man, anytime." And before he got back to me, I'd had Fabio drum up this picture of the character because I was like, "Nah, see, like you should be down because this looks great." And Fabio did this amazing job with colors by Matthias excuse me, and it captured this picture. Like I said, seminal because it captures what both Malachi and I want from the character. It has all the power and the passion and the heart that Malachi wrote into the novel. And for me, it has the pop and the glitz and the glamour that I wanted to showcase with a character like this at Wingless Comics.
Nice.
That's awesome. I wanted to add too that like I love that she's muscular. Like she still has muscle. Like it's so rare to see that, and I love it.
Yeah, women always have those stick arms. And it's like she's a superhero. She flies around and she throws buildings and shit. Why are there no muscles? Yeah, I love that.
Get to the gym, yeah.
I did hear there was a little bit of a story on this last picture that we got from you.
Oh yeah.
It's freaking amazing.
This one was a piece done by Cy Rodriguez, and I'm not sure who it was colored by, honestly.
Harvey Kahn.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they actually did this as a so I should say he. So I actually did this as a present, like a gift. It was right during Justice #1, the Kickstarter launch for that, and we had hit the goal, had kind of smashed through the barrier of the goal pretty quickly, and we had a lot of friends that congratulated us. None that congratulated us on this level, and he put together this amazing piece for her that kind of changed some of the dynamics on the background of how she will look in upcoming comics and some things that'll happen in all the best ways. On the other end of this, months later, it caused kind of a controversy because we had someone found the pencil to it, and without asking, which happened, without asking, they recolored the picture. And I will say that the armor colors weren't bad, but they turned her into Ariel because she was now a white redhead. A lot of the other natural colors in here that Harvey had done were kind of washed out. And then they posted it online, and when we requested that they take it down based on a number of factors, because I felt that we should explain why, hey, this character is meant for this, and it's the representation like this, and the whole thing. We went through the entire thing with it. The person was like, well, I think I did a good job, and I think it looks great, so I think it should stay up. And like I said, that caused some background noise that we had to shut down, which we did
with the quickness,
because again, this piece is very powerful, and the difference in not just this piece, but the difference in representation is, does Captain America need to be white? We've seen Sam Wilson, so no, that's obvious. Does Steve Rogers? Yes. Does Sam Wilson need to be black? Yes, because who he is tied to his blackness. There is a difference. And people, when they talk about whitewashing characters or color swapping or all these other things, there are, especially for characters of color, there are intrinsic values tied to these characters. And that's as important a part of the character as the character itself.
I'm just in love with the colors of that one. I want a copy of it, and I want to put it up on my wall.
Yeah, like I'm ready to buy it. Like you're doing a Kickstarter for this, right, Malachi? At some point, like where is it? I want it.
We actually included it for the first Justice Kickstarter last year as a pinup. But Brian and I can talk, see what we can do in regards to bringing it back.
Because the audience wants it. It's already been scheduled to be in the next Kickstarter for her coming in September.
Doesn't come back.
Right?
If you want to also here,
Morgan, stop it. Just stop it, please.
Oh, he's killing us. Like 80% of the comments in here are from Morgan. And Katie said she loves muscly women in art too. So we're not the only ones who digs. I'm okay with non-muscly women too, but I just the superheroes that are kicking the shit out of monsters and stuff, they should have muscles. They should be muscular. I'm not saying that they need to be ripped and look like a a WWE wrestler or something. I'm just saying that they should be muscular.
I agree. Fabio did a phenomenal job, and we are so fortunate to have him on our team because he could do no wrong.
Alrighty, there we go. So yeah.
If Malachi wants to revisit, because we're uploading something for Hannibal right now. If Malachi wants to revisit about justice, let's see if we can get you guys a couple pledges. Like, they're just shy of 5K, guys. Maybe we can, if you want to talk about justice some more. Do you have stretch goals planned?
Brian,
I'll pop that link back up
She
for you
said
guys
you, Malachi.
too.
Malachi, she led with your name. She said if
I
Malachi
mean-
wants to.
because see, let me do a disclaimer. Like for me, I either say too much or nothing at all. So
true.
I don't want to shoot
Damn.
myself in the foot because I'm either a chatty Cathy or I am tight-lipped and constipated. So Brian, you should lead, please and thank you.
We do have stretch goals planned. We do have so we already released what will be the first. Well, we said what the first stretch goals will be. We're gonna have a sticker that is drawn by Fabio, inked by Lori, our excellent host here, and then colored and touched up by room makers. That's gonna be like, I think it's a 4x6 sticker. Off the top of my head, I might be a little wrong, but I think it's a 4x6. It's a pretty nice size sticker for every physical backer once we reach 5K. We also had our announcement release. We are working with Brett Hillisham, who most of us know from Indie Comics Dispatch. He's now developing a series for Wings Comics called Immortalis, and it is about the fall of Constantinople. And it's going to delve into some of the history of Wings Comics and then bring you into the present. It's going to be very, very good. What I didn't know when we started this series, when we first started talking about it, is, Brett's degree is in history. So I think I'm a lore guy, and Brett came with a Bible of ideas that just blew me away. So it's going to be very, very fun. Our 7K stretch goal is going to be a series of trading cards. They're going to be slightly different because it just isn't going to be character cards with on the back. Hey, this is his power level is 5, his whatever is 2. But they're going to be selected images from the comics themselves that explain the characters and again delve into more of the history and the lore as opposed to just doing power levels. I think like the power level thing is cool, and I loved it in the 90s. I collected a bunch of them, but I think as an independent, it's kind of a vanity item, seeing that all of our universes are different. If you have Marvel and you can say this guy is 10 and this guy is 1 and everybody is in between, that makes sense. But where I might take Justice is a 20, and then I go over in the Hannibal's Wildfire, and he's like, yeah, bro, you're a 7. It doesn't. They don't connect. So we're gonna do some trading cards there. We don't have a 10K stretch goal yet, but I'll figure something out. And we reach 10K, it'll be something mega for everyone. And you're just gonna have to stand by and wait till I decide what that's gonna be.
Works for me.
Your rent money. Give us your rent money. Be saving some access.
Y'all making these people homeless. Come on now.
I mean, you can give it away, but I mean, just give us your money.
Joke's on you. I'm broke. So, okay, we got that piece uploaded for you, Hannibal. So, where'd it go? There it is. It's not the fancy way that I had the other ones laid out, but it's still amazing.
It's beautiful.
This is going to be
Is this the world premiere of this?
No one in the world has ever seen this before. This is the cover to War Medicine #1, a 3-part miniseries coming from Wonderman Comics later this year. I've written all 3 issues. I've spent all the money that he paid me for it. Art coming from Roy Martinez, Mask of Zorro. He's outstanding. Artist from the Philippines. He's fantastic. And with colors from Josephine Robert, which we were talking about dark skin. There was a whole lengthy thing about our heroine because she's the daughter of an slave and a Cheyenne warrior. And I'm like, no, she got to be dark, y'all, because the Cheyennes are pretty dark. And literally, the person she came from was literally from Africa. So they were like, but it's hard to, I'm like, I didn't ask you all that. It's got to be dark. It's got to be what it is.
Just do it.
And that discussion was difficult to have, but it's easier to have because I'm a part owner of this property. So I get I get a little more say than I would on a work for hire piece. But yeah, this was definitely a labor of love. It's a supernatural Western about basically a woman who's a shaman of the Cheyenne people who's faced to go up against a voodoo practitioner. And it's a very complicated supernatural Western set in 1866 that goes from here. This issue's in Oklahoma, the next issue's in New Orleans, the last issue's in Liberia.
I love it.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
That's really, really
sold. Really I gotta say though, looking at this cover, you should, if you pardon the pun, you should saddle up for the crazy horse people to come out, because boy, they have stuff to say whenever you draw a horse. Am I right, Lori?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Luckily, our publisher is he's very reference specific. He was like,
yeah,
he
no,
literally
this
even
great.
The original horse had to be cut out. He was like, no, because those kind of the kind of I guess fur or whatever around the bottom of the foot or whatever. He's like, that wouldn't have been available in the Oklahoma plains to a woman who yada yada yada. So we went through all that. I believe there should be not too much problem there, but I don't know.
It doesn't look like it. It looks like more of a plains pony type. I know some about horses. I'm not an expert by any means, but like this looks great. And the angle is I am not bold enough to try these angles when I draw stuff yet. So it's beautiful. I love it. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sarah's referring to like when we started putting out the surgeon, we got so many crazy people like emailing me and being like, that horse's left leg on that one panel is not anatomically correct. And I'm like, why are you? The horse isn't the point.
And like my favorite was the one was the horse's back is too long and he's sway backed, and I was like, 90% of the people that are reading this comic don't even know what sway backed horses mean. Like, what is that? You don't even know what that means. Like, the comic's not about the fucking horse, okay? Just as long as it looks like a horse, we're good. Oh,
everybody's got a thing. The dark gift is different for us all, So some people they're going hard on horses. That's what they're doing today.
I cannot.
I'll full disclosure, I used to be one of those people, and then I witnessed my mother being one of those people while watching a Western movie, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you are irritating, lady, shut up. So, because she was always the one that was pointing out when on Bonanza and shit, when they would be riding their ponies across the fields, and she'd be like, that's not the same horse he was riding a minute ago. And I'm like, I don't care. It's not about the horse. Jesus Christ. Oh, for Christ's sake, Morgan. Swayback sounds like a sexual position. Yeah. I should have known you were going to. Swayback is when the horse usually has a very gentle, almost straight curve to the back. And when they become swaybacked, it can be congenital, but it's usually when the horse has been, okay, never mind. It's because I have to use the word ride. And so let's moving on. Moving on. That's the show, everybody. Good night. Oh, somebody else talk now.
See what you did, Morgan.
God. You're killing me, Morgan.
He is the worst.
I think I fully, the episode of Moana Nui podcast, everybody was getting on him about the sparkles and the pole dancing, and I fully participated, so I guess I deserve that.
Yeah, we all teased Morgan, so now he's getting us back.
Yeah.
Payback. Scoliosis, what?
So to the next topic. No.
In the comments now.
What were we talking about? We were talking about something really important, and then it just.
Yeah, Morgan pretty much.
Morgan derailed the shit out of this train,
and he's still talking.
Yeah, he is.
I I had something to say earlier and I forget. Oh, in reference to that one cover of her being recolored, like it surprises me because her hair is like clearly black hair.
Are we talking about
That's a
the
long
one with all the
discussion.
pink?
And
one?
yeah. But like people be stupid? Like what?
Like in a way, I was kind of flattered, but at the same time, I was like, no, just no. And I think what's really irritating about that whole situation is that there shouldn't be any type of pushback. Like I told you, this is my piece. You didn't get permission. I even spoke to the artist about it, and the guy who recolored it, he was just very combative. And I'm like, no, take it down, or we're going to sue you and stuff.
Yeah, like that's fair, man.
Yeah, I don't get the pushing back. You're the commissioner. You're the person paying for this. So even if as a graphic designer, I get that a lot. It's like I absolutely will hate something that a client asks me to do, but I'm gonna do it because they're paying for it, and I can gently suggest why I think it's a bad idea, but I can't make them go with what I think. And I mean, this is your character. This is your intellectual property. Like I mean, I would never do that if I was drawing and coloring a picture for somebody who's their intellectual property. That just blows my mind.
Because we showed him the originals, and he was very. I mean, it was to the point. Like I know me personally, if I had went to Brian first, I would have cussed them out and tracked them on Facebook and did all types of mean shit. But Brian is usually my voice of reason. So I said, "How would you work?"
Can we record that so I can have
let's
that?
Not do that here.
It's there for posterity on the internet forever now. You're good.
That's your ringtone.
Right? Right? I'm gonna tell my mama that one, dude. Like, Mama, Malachi just
we'll bring Mama into this.
You know what's funny about it? Well, so obviously I'm on the West Coast and Mal's on the East Coast. So most of the time we'll just we use Facebook Messenger or whatever, especially in the morning. It's early, blah blah blah. I get a text, I think, from Mal, and it was like, "Wake up!" And then 5 minutes later, I got a call, and all I get is, "Brian, can you believe?" And I was like, "Oh shit!" So I'm online checking this stuff out, but Malachi, rightfully so, I think, hit the roof about it. But okay, so the reason I think it's problematic, another reason, and this is something that Malachi and I never discussed, but I knew that we had to tackle it a certain way. One of the reasons that the recolor was problematic was because it was definitely just after, I don't remember which one got cast, but either Zoe or Holly got cast as Ariel. And people were up in arms. Oh, black girl can't be a redhead. I don't even know what the thing was. She can't be a redhead. And it was like, well, there are tons of black redheads. What are you talking about? Well, she can't be a mermaid. Why? Because she's black. Okay. Well, it didn't make sense, right? But you had a huge backlash with that. A huge thing. People were just, I ain't never seen a black mermaid, so they can't exist. Like, well, you've never seen a mermaid, so they can't exist, stupid ass. But okay.
I've never seen $1 million.
Right? So when the artist or the guy, the colorist, recolored it, it's two things about this. The coloring job was subpar. Now, it wasn't horrible, right? And it doesn't compare to what Harvey did anyway. But just on a normal level of like average coloring, below average, above average, it was like barely hitting the average level because he left a lot of the background out, all these other things, because he got tired. He didn't want to do the work to make like a masterful piece. First of all. Then the second part about that is the recolor, in my opinion, was very pointed and it was very certain. It said more than what he was acting like it said, because he literally colored it like Ariel. It was red hair, it was white skin, the bottom was green, and to me, it was super obvious. Okay, even if you're not making a point, you're making a point about the casting that Disney just did. And you're doing it in a slick way to just be like, oh man, I just love this piece so much and I wanted to do it. To me, if I go in your refrigerator and you got milk and you got eggs, you got flour, I'm like, yo, why you baking a cake, son? Like, those things are not separate. Like, I'm gonna put all the pieces of what you've done before together and call you on it. And that was my problem with the piece, and that was why we didn't take it to like your proverbial Facebook streets. Like, nah, this had to be a real thing. And we're going to come at you very legalese because we have the paperwork set up, we have all these things going, and we're going to let you know, like, take it down, and this is why. And we're going to be nice about the first time, and we're going to let you know that, like, we see what you're doing, and what we did was about representation, so we're not going to allow you to take that from us. And then you want to push back, okay, then I think, well, maybe, now probably everybody here has seen how I get when I'm about something and somebody pushes back, especially if it's about something I'm very protective of. Like, I will destroy you. And that was the mode we had to kind of go on, because again, it really is important. These representation pieces are just too important to let go. And that, again, is for women, that's for Black people, that's for Indigenous, that's for Latino, that's for everybody, right? These pieces are too important to let go and to let somebody just kind of nonchalantly step on and do the like, oh, I didn't even know. Bullshit, you know.
So to clarify though, you are hear that, right? We're getting cake, right? You're making a cake. You're getting cake, right? That's what I heard.
I actually do have an Oreo cake in the refrigerator. I mean, freezer right now. And if we're gonna be honest about, I do technically.
It's like an ice cream
I'd
cake?
like a slice.
Yes, ice cream cake. Yes.
Sweet. I'll be there. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Let's shut this down now, guys. Let's go.
All right.
That's
That's how you
time.
end the show, Morgan.
So, yeah, we do seriously though. We have to start wrapping up now because we're about out of time today. So, I do want to say, Lori, I just remembered we need to put in a mention for our good friend Mike Watson.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Mike Watson is currently running a Kickstarter for Hot Shot, both trade volumes. Like, you guys are getting like 8 issues worth of superhero comics. This shit is fucking awesome. The last time I checked, he was like $400 off of goal.
Yeah,
So
he's at
if you can-
5,775 right now. So he's
so
very
it's
close.
gone up. Like, he's so
Yeah.
close to goal. If you guys can share, if you guys can back it in the comments, everyone, it's do it.
Yeah.
I want to see his face light up when he hits the goal. Like, he's so
Yes.
excited about it.
Let's get him to goal today. That would be great. That would be great.
And if we want, like, everyone can kind of, if you want to share your social media and what you're doing and where to find it and all that stuff.
Yes, Hannibal, where can we find you today?
Okay. Every week you'll find my reviews on bleedingcool.com as well as on the iHeartRadio podcast Nerdorama with Mo and Tawala. I also have, as I noted, MPLS Sound from Humanoids Publishing is, I think I even have it covered. Yeah, I did. MPLS Sound, this is my proof copy from, from Humanoids Publishing is in stores now. It's with Joe Illidge and Meredith Laxon on art, Tanshu on colors. Let's see if I can get this one up. Time Core number 16, which is, there we go. In your favorite online comic sellers, as well as on Hoopla Digital. So if you're cheap, you're lying, read free. Time Core number 16. I still get paid either way. And this July, you'll see a Kickstarter coming out from Quinn McGowan, my creative partner, which is going to be Project Wildfire: The Learning Curve. You'll see Project Wildfire in Interproject in comic stores November from Insight Publishing. And I don't think I've forgotten anything that I'm supposed to talk about. Yeah, probably. But worst comes to worst, social media is at sign Hannibal Tabu. That's Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, Facebook, Plurk, hieroglyphs, sunlight coming from the sky, and wherever you want to be. And it's also HannibalTabu.com or operative.net for all kind of free web comics goodness and what have you.
All right. Awesome. Okay, Malachi, where can we find you?
Yes, so I am on Facebook. I have a fan page. It's Malachi the Writer. And I'm also on Instagram. It's Mal_the_writer. And yeah, that's where you could find me.
All right, cool. And how about you, Brian? Where do we find you on the interwebs?
I just have a regular non-fan page. That's Brian Lambert on Facebook, Wingless Comics on Instagram, Wingless Entertainment on Twitter, Wingless Comics on Facebook as well. Obviously, Wingless Comics is also on Kickstarter right now. We're live for Justice #2, and those are my socials.
All right, fantastic. And then Morgan says he wants to see Carla gone. I assume you're talking about Mike's about Hot Shots. Oh, why does everybody hate Carla? Anyway, so, and yeah, of course, you can find us at uhstudios.com, and we are going to be back. And yeah, spoiler alert, Mike's going to be on the next episode, so y'all can talk to him about that. Come and watch and comment so that we have lots of fun stuff to poke Mike about. Nobody's going to give him the kind of crap that we give Morgan, though. Mike's just too enthusiastic. So, all right. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening and a wonderful week. And thank you, Hannibal and Malachi and Brian. Thank you so much for coming. I hope we can have you on again sometime. And yeah, and good luck with all your projects, past, present, future, and have a wonderful evening. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right, be safe, y'all.